Hokage, the civilian Genjutsu master who can read minds. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 61. Sorry, it was me who did it. Whoosh. While Iruka was thinking, the flying bamboo dragonfly quickly retreated, and a harmonica appeared in his hand. I have seen your progress, now let's take a look at the teacher's progress. What? Iruka hadn't thought about the operation of flying bamboo dragonfly yet. Looking at the harmonica in his hand, he felt something bad. Every time the teacher comes up with something different, it means he has new tricks. With his right hand, he quickly took out a few shurikens from his ninja tool bag and quickly stopped the flying bamboo dragonfly's movements. Phew. Do-do-do. Dang dang dang. Brown brown brown. Facing the flying shuriken, flying bamboo dragonfly sidestepped it gently, its chest resonated, and the chakra entered the harmonica with the breath and began to play. Melodious music sounded. I knew it. Iruka knew something was wrong when he heard the sound. He became the teacher's experiment again. You could have put a knife to his neck just now, but you had to play the harmonica. Before I could finish thinking, my vision went dark. When he reappeared, he was already on the cross. In front of him was a gloomy old woman with a bandage on her head. In front of her was a pot of different foods. Iruka felt that not only his eyes were dark, but his heart was also dark. Especially the old woman scooped up a spoonful with a big spoon and couldn't help but open her mouth and feed it. Ugh. Ouch. Teacher, I don't want it. A shout came from the mental space, and Iruka, who was standing outside, also shouted in sync with his body. Flying bamboo dragonfly put down the harmonica and felt a breath in Iruka's chest, as if it was about to be exhaled from his throat, but could not be exhaled. The corner of his mouth smiled. Iruka must like the taste of this hodgepodge. After he finished complaining, he used the dotting tool to create a rocking chair, sat down and waited for Iruka to crack Genjutsu. Without the continuous release of Genjutsu, he didn't use any superstandard Genjutsu. The conventional solution method can be used to break it, but I don't know if he can withstand the smell and break it. Just the staple food of Hattuinia chordata, Beijing bean juice to relieve greasiness, cilantro bibimbap, and durian for dessert should be able to withstand. It's not like Iruka has never tried taste punishment alone, it's just the first time he's done it together. The eyebrows are frowned, the cheeks are clamped, the forehead is tense, the nose is enlarged, and the eyes only leave a pinhole-sized field of vision. The facial features are tightly pressed together. This is Iruka's current state. Tears flowed from the pinhole-sized gap, snot hung like a crystal pendant, and muscles tightened unconsciously. I don't want to compete with the teacher anymore. After a simple adaptation, he finally remembered that this was Genjutsu and could be cracked. Concentrating the last energy, the chakra in the body burst out suddenly after being suppressed to the lowest level. The scenery in front of me also slowly changed. There was no longer the scary old woman, nor the scary food cauldron, only flying bamboo dragonflies that seemed to be sleeping. Then he felt something cold on his chin, and his hand brushed against the cool place, and a sticky feeling entered his mind from his hand. When I looked closely, it was snot. Click. Ah, Iruka, you are so disgusting. I took a picture. Flying bamboo dragonfly's voice sounded, and at some point a camera appeared in his hand, and the flash just now came from there. Yes, you have made great progress. You can already be a qualified teacher. You are really better than your predecessor. Flying bamboo dragonfly rejected Iruka's request to delete the photos and praised him. He was so worried that he forgot to record his life. Fortunately, he finally remembered and kept the ugly photos of Iruka. When Naruto's generation grows up, and then put Iruka's photo in front of them, what will it feel like? It must be interesting, right? Iruka complained, Teacher, you don't want to test me, you just want to test your new Genjutsu. Flying bamboo dragonfly nodded, then quickly shook his head, Nonsense, why would I let my disciple be a test subject? I just want you to experience Genjutsu, and I want to teach you. Contribute to the growth of Konoha, and give you the best means to teach students in school. He patted his chest and bowed. Iruka became even more resentful when he heard this. Teacher, my Genjutsu talent is limited to solving Genjutsu, you said so. What, did I say that? It doesn't matter, teacher, I have grown up, this Genjutsu has special processing, teacher, I have thoroughly studied the resonance of chakra and taste organs, and as long as it is released according to the seal method I taught, the Genjutsu with a special flavor can be fixedly released. Well, only humans, not psychic beasts. Flying bamboo dragonfly said there was no problem. Iruka's eyes lit up, really? If it is true, then as long as any student dares to be naughty, he can use this punishment, just like the teacher taught them. Then as a teacher, no student in the ninja school dares to resist, right? Irika thought about it, with a strange smile on his face. No one understands the intimidating power of this Genjutsu better than him. This was how he and the thorn-type iron thread, the potential of the Genjutsu, were forced out. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to develop a new ninjutsu. Don't worry, don't you still believe in the teacher's strength? Feiju Dragonfly patted his chest. Naruto, Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji. I really don't mean to be evil, I just do it for the future growth of Konoha. If it is affected, it is for your own good. Ga. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly's mind has already flown to the scene of Naruto's Generation Jonin school, being punished by Irika using this move. Sneeze. In a simple room, Naruto was eating instant noodles when his nose suddenly itched and he almost knocked over the instant noodle bucket when he sneezed. He was so frightened that he quickly steadied his hands. He wiped his nose with his sleeve. Did I catch a cold? Nara's house. Clatter. Little Shikamaru held the shogi in his hand and placed it on the desired position on the board. Suddenly. My nose feels itchy. Sneeze. What's wrong, Shikamaru? Don't sneeze to cover up the fact that you are about to lose. Shikaku also picked up the shogi and placed it in a key position, killing Shikamaru. I won't admit defeat, I just have a bad feeling in my heart. This feeling had no reason and made little Shikamaru confused. Lugio smiled when he heard this. A man, if you have to admit that you can't do it, you can't do it. It's not. Sneeze. Woof woof. It's okay, Akamaru, let's do it again. Inuzuka Kiba touched his nose, looked at Akamaru, his friend who had just been given to him by his mother, and smiled as he wanted to practice tacit understanding training again. Rotisserie. Sneeze. Chubby little Choji sneezed, but at over 3 years old, he could pick up meat as dexterously as chopsticks picking up flies. Even sneezing could not stop his appetite. Choji, you have to eat slowly, you look like you've caught a cold. Choji's mother quickly wiped his nose with a tissue. Episode 62. 8 Incenses of Fire. After testing Irika's current strength and letting him experience his new surgery, he threw him a scroll with his latest research on the music system Genjutsu, which is used to let people experience the ultimate taste. There are 8 variations of a technique. Beijing bean juice, coriander, hatuinia cordata, herbal tea, citric acid, chaotian pepper, stinky tofu, mustard. Now that it has been completed, Narakumi no Jutsu Kai is no longer applicable, and Feiju Dragonfly gave the new technique a new name. 8 Fragrances of Fire. Fire, 8, incense. Irika took the scroll and couldn't wait to open it and read it. The 8 Incense of Fire, the classic Genjutsu that inherits the will of fire, can make naughty disciples and disciples who don't listen well to the great Genjutsu who listen carefully. It is the greatest Genjutsu master in Konoha, cast by Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Now the technique is passed down to my disciple Irika, and I hope it will flourish. Irika glanced at the teacher. Teacher, you will really bring glory to yourself. He thought so, but the specific release method of Genjutsu and the 8 changes in it made his eyes brighter and brighter. Beijing bean juice, what the hell is it called? This should be the disgusting smell of that smelly rag. Coriander, hatuinia cordata. It only targets the taste organs of ninjas, and does not apply to psychic beasts, monsters, etc. The advantage is also obvious. The specific target of this Genjutsu is the enemy's body, not the spirit. Genjutsu causes the central nervous system of the body, the chordotympani nerve and the glossopharyngeal nerve, to produce a specific taste, which is then transmitted from the body to the brain. Compared with Narakumi no Jutsu Kai's method, the sound system Genjutsu's fire Hashika omits the process of causing the enemy's spirit to hallucinate through the eyes, transmitting it to the body and then feeding it back to the brain from the body, directly allowing those who hear the sound to the ninja's body directly produces hallucinations, which are then fed back to the ninja's brain. The difficulty of cracking is higher. Teacher, you are so perverted. You even created this kind of Genjutsu. You're not just using it for fun, are you? Although Irika was very happy that he could learn this super perverted Genjutsu, he was not very happy when it was used on himself. It was still visual before, but now it's auditory, making it even harder to guard against. Joke, is the teacher like that? Look at the introduction, Genjutsu inherits the will of fire. That's the great Genjutsu that has made generations of future generations talented. How can you think so? Is this right? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly did not admit this statement. Irika's eyes moved. Teacher, in order to verify whether I can learn it, you stand and let me try it. Don't be defensive and see if your Genjutsu is really successful. You brat, you still want to take revenge on the teacher, right? Get out of here. Flying bamboo dragonfly kicked him away. If you don't give it, I won't give it. Irika patted his butt and walked away. The flying bamboo and dragonfly shook their heads and went home. Flying bamboo dragonfly became the official jonin, and his father was very happy. He drank 2 glasses of wine in the evening and passed out on the dining table. Calamus was also happy for him. And in the middle of the night, after completing his daily Genjutsu research, Fei Bamboo Dragonfly began to think about being promoted to Jonin and becoming the monitor of the analysis class. After thinking about it again, it seemed that there was no harm in it. I feel more free when I go to work, and I don't have to look at my superior's looks. No. Yamanaka Haiichi is still his superior, but for this position, there is no need to look at his face. And they have their own say in various events. Jonin represents the improvement of his ability, and his ninjas will trust him more, which is brought about by ability. Of course, it also means that the responsibilities have become larger. Sleep, this position is still affordable. The next day. Analysis class. Feiju Dragonfly officially took over the position of analysis class monitor from Yamanaka Haiichi, witnessed by many colleagues. This made many colleagues sigh. The genius captain back then was now their boss. It can be considered that they grew up watching. Especially Kisame, who witnessed the growth of Fei Zukinging, his marriage, Jonin, and the analysis class monitor. The colleague who drank and spanked together is now his boss. The same is true for Du Lijiang, who laments that his talent makes people happy. Even before his abilities as petty officer 2nd class could be fully utilized, Fei Zukinging was already Jonin and still his superior. It seems that I am very capable, and I have taught a Jonin so quickly. Du Lijiang turned his attention to the newbie who joined the analysis class. At this time, they faced the new squad leader respectfully. Little did they know that Captain Du Lijiang, known as the Ghost Petty Officer 2nd class, had already set his sights on them. The first thing Feiju Dragonfly did when he took office. Business as usual. The workflow of the analysis class is already very mature and does not require any changes. Only he, the new squad leader, needs to make changes. Except for the tough ninjas, he only needs to organize and report the intelligence collected by his subordinates. The job is pretty easy. Of course, the leader of a class does not have nothing to do. This is already a senior level in a department, and there is still a lot to learn. In this regard, he has to learn from Yamanaka Haiichi. He has to handle the interface with other departments and Hokage. Just when Feiju and Dragonfly were working hard and dedicated to their work, a file was issued from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Yunin Village. In 3 days, they will come to Konoha to discuss an alliance. Looking at the document in his hand, Fei Zukinging was stunned. Is the famous event in the original work about to happen? The moment he saw Kumogakure coming to form an alliance, he thought of Hisashi's death. And the order he got was to tell his subordinates not to conflict with Yunin's people. 2. He is the squad leader of the analysis class and not a member of the security team. He only needs to do his job well. He won't meet anyone from Kumogakure either. As for saving people, there is nothing he can do. In terms of perception, except for the different characteristics, all members of the supercilious family are no worse than him. This allows Kumogakure to sneak in, which shows that Kumogakure's espionage activities have used some means to avoid Byakugan's perception. Or maybe the Hyuga family can't just roll their eyes within the family. In short, the threads inside were too complicated, and even with a good head, he couldn't figure it out. Unless he reads the minds one by one. Moreover, when it comes to politics, he feels inferior to the 3rd generation. Every time when facing the younger generation, a breath of fire will make them work diligently. And what about him? The solution I came up with was to use a forced method like the 8 incense of fire, or use some advanced ninjutsu temptation method, which is not as easy to use as the will of fire in the 3rd generation. So these are not his considerations. He is just a stinky part-time worker, and he is already very good at doing his job well. It's only a few $100,000 a month, what a waste of money. Now, all I need to do is become stronger steadily. At the same time, I'm glad again that I didn't travel into Uchiha or Hyuga. That kind of lifestyle without cheats, but without freedom, seems very empty at first glance. False freedom. I'm afraid the other senior executives are already busy. The analysis class is indeed the easiest department. Episode 63. Yunin. Konoha's main entrance. Under the arrangement of Sarutobi Hiruzen, a team was already waiting, and several figures in the distance gradually emerged. Be careful. Not long ago, Kumogakure intercepted and killed the Orc caravans of the Country of Fire and the Country of Iron. This so-called alliance may be Kumogakure's conspiracy. In the darkness, several Umbu observed possible conspiracies. There is no shortage of this possibility, but since Lord Hokage gave the order, we just need to follow the order and complete the task. Really, why didn't Lord Hokage issue an order to fight back? That is an important trade related to our Konoha ninja resources. This is Konoha, it's really unpleasant to occupy the most fertile land in the Land of Fire. They still have some strength. I heard that at the border of Fire Country, Senior Kawasuki and Senior Red Fong Brown were killed by a team from Konoha. Who killed it? The Hatake Kakashi, who obtained the Uchiha Sharingan, or the famous Shunshin Shursui, or the Hokage's direct subordinate Umbu? According to the intelligence from the spies, it was 2 jonin sent by Konoha who led 2 imps and defeated them. One was named Bayun Zazeo and the other was Hibambu Dragonfly. It seems that Konoha is really full of talents. So what, as long as we complete this mission, we can once again strengthen the village's power. Stop talking, Konoha is here. Each of the envoys of Yunin village carries a knife on their back, and their muscles are extremely strong. Analysis class. Wow. Fei Zukinging flipped through various copywriting and the records left by the previous squad leader, trying to clarify the work of the analysis class in the shortest possible time so that he could find out the rules and fish. Some jobs are quite easy, but there are many places to use your brain. Fortunately, I have the brain. The squad leader's job is not only to collect and organize the information read by his subordinates every day, but also to hand over important information to Hokage. They also need to have their subordinates analyze the enemy's corpse information, summarize the enemy's ninjutsu strengths and weaknesses, make a report, and hand it over to Hokage. It doesn't seem like there's much work, but it's actually quite troublesome. Because intelligence involves too many things. Enemy ninjutsu, iteration of secret codes, analyze the enemy's possible movements from various subtle intelligence. For example, everyone in modern times knows economic analysis. When a certain material is suddenly purchased or shipped in large quantities on a certain day or during a certain period of time, a lot of things can be seen. These are his real jobs, and it is easiest to report them to Hokage. Fortunately, this is what he is good at. The current Kumogakure messenger is probably already arguing with the 3rd generation, right? He still kept a little thought in mind, mainly because this is also a famous incident in the original work. He still likes 8 trigrams and wants to know what the 3rd generation thought before handing over Hyuga Hizashi. Yunin went on a mission for 3 days. After 3 days of wrangling and having envoys frequently contact Yunin village, an alliance agreement was finally reached. To say it is an alliance is to say a non-aggression pact. May be broken at any time. At the alliance ceremony, Hokage invited the heads of the major families and leaders of various departments to participate in the alliance ceremony. Flying bamboo dragonflies are also among them. It's boring, why don't we end it quickly and go back to study the sound system Genjutsu for further research? He sighed. His recent promotion and alliance with Kumogakure have reduced his research time. He has already studied Genjutsu, which controls the enemy's hearing. As long as he gives him a few more months, he will be able to do it and hear whatever sound he wants the enemy to hear. Sound system Genjutsu is not only a Genjutsu that uses sound to attack the enemy, but also a Genjutsu that uses other methods to cause the enemy to have auditory hallucinations. Visual K and Sound K intersect, not 2 separate lines. Cloud Hidden Village and Konoha Village have formally formed an alliance agreement. Finally, Hiruzen Sarutobi and Messenger Kumogakure ended the ceremony. Tomorrow, Kumogakure's envoy will return to Kumogakure village. The incident still happened. When Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was sleeping with his wife at home, the Hyuga clan in the dark killed a Yunin messenger who wants to kidnap the clan's Hinata. The next day, the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly caught the wind. The whole Konoha was shaking. Because the ceremony was only completed yesterday, Kumogakure's ninja died in Konoha today. What a surprise. For the higher-ups in Konoha. The envoys of Yunin village were also very tough and refused to admit what they had done. Instead, they poured dirty water on Konoha, thinking that Konoha is pretending to be an alliance to make them relax their vigilance. Finally, he obtained information about Yunin village from the corpse of the messenger, with evil intentions. In the end, it's just like the original. There is a young man who believes in destiny in the world, and a younger brother died in his brother's place. There was one more useless corpse in Kumogakure. For a while, it made many high-level officials in Konoha sigh. Hyuga Ningxi clenched his fists and looked at the portrait of his father in the morning hall, showing unconcealable sadness. Hyuga Haiichi takes Hinata and puts on chrysanthemums. After the Kumogakure messenger returned, Phasya Dragonfly suddenly received a summons from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Dragonfly, the Dragonfly Barriers development team has been formed and you are required to take on one more position. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were also a little tired, and it was obvious that this incident also made him think too much. Clear. Flying bamboos and dragonflies responded. The development of barriers technology has been mentioned before, but I just remembered it now. It is estimated that this incident gave third generation more ideas to prepare for future troubles. As for the barriers technique, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, although he has not studied it seriously these days, his genius brain and casual thinking have also made his previous barriers technique more mature. No slacking off. Just working an extra job gave him more things to do. But these are all tasks. If you have a task, you will have money and resources, so it is still acceptable. Moreover, he holds two important positions. They are all stationed, so the chance of him leaving the village is greatly reduced, and he can have more time to spend with his family and wife. He is still willing. Sarutobi Hiruzen, at the same time, with your current ability, you should be able to learn that Genjutsu. I approved your application. Hearing this, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly showed a smile on his face. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Well, go ahead, that technique is very dangerous, don't force it. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly automatically filtered, and his talent did not allow him to have ninjutsu that was difficult to learn. He walked out of the door with a smile and closed the door politely. Wait until the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly leaves. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, oh, I'm old. If I were 10 years younger, I would definitely not let Kumogakure become arrogant. Now I can only hope that in the next few years, we can cultivate children like Dragonfly who can be independent in their own right. The thing about Yunin is not that he doesn't want to fight, but that he doesn't dare to fight. A few years after the end of World War III, Konoha was just recovering and residents were living a stable life. If the fight continues, let alone whether Konoha can bear it, first of all, the top management of the Fire Country will not allow this to happen. Episode 64. The Shriveled Mizuki. Wuincho Dash. At training ground number 88, Irika with ponytail is practicing the newly obtained Genjutsu, the 8 incense of fire. After forming the seal, pick up the whistle hanging on your chest, gather the chakra in your mouth, and play it according to a certain rhythm. Toot toot. Chirp. The surrounding birds were frightened and seemed to be frightened by the unpleasant music. They spread their wings and fled away. Far away from the training ground, a figure was going to the training ground to practice. Seeing the frightened look of Asuka, he was a little curious as to who was practicing ninjutsu and actually scared away the birds so far away. This is a young man with light blue hair, a slender figure, and a sports hood covering the upper half of his head, revealing a delicate blue protagonist's face, with medium long hair hanging on both sides of his chin, with a curious expression at the moment. Look. If Flying Bamboo Dragonfly were here, you would definitely know him, one of Konoha's classic characters, a sidekick villain with the protagonist's face, Mizuki. Mizuki slowly approached the training ground with curiosity, and the aura on his body was habitually hidden. As he approached, bursts of unpleasant music came from the distance, making Mizuki frown. Who was playing such unpleasant music? But after walking a few more meters, he felt something was wrong. His tongue was unconsciously producing liquid, and as the liquid was produced, a smell spread throughout his mouth. What a taste that is! The moment the taste filled his mouth, his stomach reacted immediately, and a burst of gas surged from his stomach to his throat. Vomit. Mizuki held on to the tree and retched for a while, vomiting out a lot of dirty liquid. What's going on? He didn't understand why his body reacted like this. Could it be that he was hit by ninjutsu? Or was the other party's music too unpleasant, causing his body to react? With this thought, Mizuki suppressed the nausea and continued to move forward quietly. Walked a few more meters. The music changed and turned into another unpleasant music. You're so unmusical, aren't you? Listening to this unpleasant music, Mizuki laughed from the bottom of his heart. But he hadn't laughed for long in his heart, his face was distorted, and a bitter taste that he had never experienced spread from his mouth. The 5 senses were squeezed together in an instant, and saliva kept producing in the mouth, trying to dilute the bitter taste and then spit it out. But it's useless, it's still painful. Is this some kind of secret technique? Mizuki is also an experienced ninja, and he knows that there must be something wrong with the music. Thinking of the secret technique, jealousy appeared in his eyes. Why is he a commoner, not born into a big family, learning the ordinary 3-body technique, and completing so many tasks in exchange for his own ninjutsu, while others have been practicing powerful ninjutsu and secret arts since childhood? With this thought, Shuemu's aura became more and more hidden, and he wanted to approach quietly to see if he could learn it secretly and who was practicing the secret technique. Gong gong gong. The rhythm of the music changed again. Just when Shuemu felt bad, the smell of mustard burst out from his mouth and instantly filled his forehead. Tian Lingai felt as if he was being broken by this energy, and his 5 senses felt like they were being hit by mustard. Damn it, I want to see who it is? With this obsession, Mizuki continued to move forward. Spicy, smelly, coriander, fishy, sour. After experiencing the 5 additional flavors again, the sound finally stopped. Mizuki's face was twisted and sour, and he quickly approached. His breath was no longer stable. He just wanted to see who was playing the music. Ta-ta. Irika put down the whistle in his mouth and smiled on his face. After several days of practice, he was finally able to reluctantly use the Genjutsu taught to him by his teacher. Although the power control was not very good, as long as he practiced, with his ability to control chakra, there would be absolutely no problem. Suddenly, he heard someone approaching and looked back. A familiar yet unfamiliar figure came into view, but his facial features seemed to be red and purple, as if he was sick, and his steps were still weak. Brother Mizuki? He asked doubtfully. Are you coming to practice too? Are you injured? Mizuki slowly approached, listening to the familiar voice. The painful mask slowly raised his head. Irika? Irika, how could it be Irika, the guy he pitted? Brother Mizuki, it's me, are you okay? Irika asked worriedly. Mizuki didn't answer, but quickly scanned everything in the training ground. Where are the others? He didn't find any other ninjas in the training ground except Irika, so he just thought they had hidden or left. Ah, I'm the only one here. Irika wondered, is there anyone else here? Asshole, I'm so kind to you. I'm talking about the guy who played music here just now. It was the very ugly music. Tell me, where is that guy? Mizuki looked ferocious and yelled at Irika. Irika was startled by his expression and hesitantly said, that. Brother Mizuki, the person you mentioned playing music, maybe, is me. As he spoke, he picked up the whistle on his chest and showed it to him. That's how I blow. Mizuki was stunned. Irika's expression didn't look like he was lying, but he was still unwilling to accept it. How could Irika have such a secret skill? Only after confirming again and again that Irika was not lying and that there was no trace of anyone else around did he believe that this was Irika's work. Damn it, how can he know this kind of secret skill? I thought so in my heart, but my face returned to its usual smile, and I pretended to be relieved. Irika, I'm so sorry, I scared you. I just passed by here and my body was attacked. I thought it was some kind of enemy. It's you who did it, that's great. By the way, what was that ninjutsu just now? Why are you playing such ugly music? Seeing Brother Mizuki return to his usual smile, and hearing his words again, Irika suddenly felt embarrassed. The teacher's note on the scroll is that even if the enemy does not have human taste organs, the enemy's ears can be impacted, thus providing one more attack point in the same time. But when Mizuki said it, it was really embarrassing that it sounded so bad. You won't be said to have no musical ability by others in the future, right? He smiled awkwardly and said, Ahaha, this is a gift from my teacher. It is a genjutsu called the 8 Incense of Fire. After saying that, he seemed to think of something again, and asked cautiously, Brother Shuemu, you won't have been affected by me, have you? At this time, he looked at Mizuki seriously. Seeing that familiar face, he looked the same as when he was attacked by the teacher, and he felt even more embarrassed. Brother Mizuki had always been very kind to him after his parents passed away, comforting him and encouraging him, but now he was suddenly affected by the genjutsu he used, and it seemed that he was completely hit. He was picking his toes, and his face couldn't stop laughing. Only he knows how uncomfortable it is to enjoy 8 flavors at the same time. Now Irika felt like hiding his face and running away. Episode 65. Barriers Class. Training Ground number 88. 8 Incense of Fire? Genjutsu? Did the teacher teach you? Every word Irika said made Mizuki uncomfortable. The 8 incense that Genjutsu is talking about are the 8 flavors that I just felt. Damn the 8 incense. Irika's teacher means that he is not a teacher from the school, or a 3rd-generation adult, but only Irika's former leading teacher, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Damn it, why are you still teaching him new ninjutsu when we are no longer in the same team? Why don't I have such a teacher? Mizuki smiled, but the jealousy in his heart was twisted. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly knew that in the past 2 years, Mizuki had competed with Irika Sufengjin, and with their relationship, he knew who his teacher was. If he hadn't secretly learned a lot of practice methods from Irika, he wouldn't have been promoted to Chunin so quickly. At that time, Mizuki was thinking that it would be great if his teacher was Feiju Dragonfly. Not Irika, the poor guy whose parents died under Nine Tails. But even now that he has left the team, Feiju Dragonfly is still so kind to Irika, which makes Mizuki jealous. Why, Master Third Hokage, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, and others are so good to Irika, why are they all paying attention to him, while he is unknown and relies on himself for everything? Ah, your teacher is so good. He taught you all these secret techniques. I'm fine. If you make progress, it's the best. Shuimu laughed and said indifferently. Seeing that brother Mizuki didn't care, Irika also breathed a sigh of relief. Hehe, Mr. Dragonfly is great, but he is too evil. For example, this genjutsu, you can feel it, too. It is not very useful in actual combat. The teacher taught me to use it to scare students and make them study hard. Irika scratched his head and smiled. Student, upon hearing this word, Mizuki's eyes flashed with gloom for a moment. He remembered that he and Irika had passed the ninja school teacher's test at the same time, but because they were suspected of killing their teammates in order to complete the task, their qualifications as teachers were delayed. Mizuki hated in his heart that Lord Whitefang was blamed for the failure of his mission in order to save his companions. For the sake of the mission, he did not even directly testify against killing his teammates, but he risked his entire career path. He hates. I hate the Hokage for being partial, and I hate that Konoha's mechanism is unclear. Why can't everything he does get recognition? Konoha Jutsu Library. Unbeknownst to Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, Irika had already found the first test subject. At this time, he looked at the scroll in front of him, the Art of Darkness. Huh? How come this technique was created by first generation? Fishikinging looked at the creator written on it and raised his eyebrows. This technique that can restrain Sharingan was actually created by Senju Hashirama, which surprised him. Before that, he always thought that Tobirama created it, but he didn't expect that Hashirama, you old boy, is also a ninjutsu developer. You are worthy of being the god of ninja. Unexpected and expected. During the Warring States period, which was not the period of Konoha, it was understandable that the Senju family and Uchiha, as the two strongest rival families, had developed techniques to suppress the abilities of their opponents. Senju Hashirama's talent is there, he can create and understand. You only have 1 hour. If you don't memorize all the techniques, you have to wait for the next opportunity. Next to Feiju Dragonfly, a team of Umbu guarded him to prevent him from taking away the ninjutsu scroll. This is a forbidden technique, one of Konoha's top secrets. Feiju Dragonfly was not surprised. He had just gone through several procedures before he saw the scroll of the dark art. Perception is divergent, and the numbers in the scroll are like little people performing martial arts. One by one, the seals, the formulas, and the details are quickly reflected in the mind. When his perception expanded to the secret room, he was blocked by barriers and could only observe everything in the room. A quarter of an hour later. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly has just finished learning the technique, so don't go too fast and save some effort. Full of rewards. The Art of Darkness, learning difficulty A, close and medium range auxiliary genjutsu, can deprive the enemy of vision, plunge the enemy into a satin-like abyss of darkness, and steal the enemy's light. The principle of the technique is very complicated, no wonder it can restrain Sharingan. But there are also flaws. If the practitioner learns the technique improperly, he will fall into the abyss of endless darkness and lose all light. Very good genjutsu. Visual Kei Genjutsu has another reference object. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly is very satisfied. Especially since even Sharingan can be tricked, it is exactly the material he needs. Sharingan has powerful insight and can observe the enemy's chakra movement. If faced with an enemy with this ability, genjutsu will be much less useful. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly can deal with sure sway, allowing him to get hit quickly. He didn't crack it immediately, just because of the problem of intelligence, which he knew very well. If we fight next time, the opponent will definitely know that he is a genjutsu-type ninja, and will be on guard in this regard. The genjutsu defense on his body can only protect against the enemy's insight for the time being, but the released chakra cannot. As long as Shursui's mobility is strong enough, he can at least resist many genjutsu. After all, genjutsu is a technique that uses chakra to disrupt the enemy's chakra, thereby causing the enemy to hallucinate. Mostly so. This is very easy to crack. Distinguished heavenly gods, distinguished hands, Izanami, and the like are exceptions. With the reference of darkness, he can learn from it and find ways to target the powerful pupil technique. After all, the ninja world is known as I-Legend. This is important. Konoha Barriers Class, Secret Training Ground. Just you three? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked at the three people in front of him and asked. Yes, Mr. Dragonfly, the three of us are ninjas responsible for maintaining and sensing barriers. We are ordered by Mr. Third Generation to learn from you. The leader was a Hyuga ninja wearing a ninja vest, a pair of white eyes, and a forehead protector. The two people behind him have ordinary looks. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was a little surprised. From the Hyuga clan? Yes, sir, Hyuga Iron Eyes. The ninja of the Hyuga clan introduced. It seems that there are people from big families in every department. As one of the strongest clans, the Hyuga clan, it is not unusual for members to appear in the barriers class. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly nodded. Then, let's get started. I think Mr. Third Generation also told you, why am I serving as the leader of the barriers development team this time? Well, Master Third Hokage has said that he is developing a defensive barriers to deal with ultra-wide-range attacks. Hyuga nodded with iron eyes. So did the other two. There is no objection, because they know the importance of the barriers class, and Hokage-sama will not do unnecessary things. Since the person in front of him was sent by Master Hokage, it shows his ability. So, super large defense barriers, inverted golden bell, the first step of development, let's start. Episode 66. Dangerous Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Konoha, Barriers Development Class. Whoosh. The special kunai surrounding the entire field were quickly taken back into the hands of the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly Barriers team. Just stop here today, eat after get off work, and then work again next week. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said to the three of them. Yes, Captain. Hyuga's iron eyes respectfully greeted Kaido. After a month of getting along with each other, Feiju Dragonfly demonstrated barriers ninjutsu qualities that put their professional barriers class to shame. As an elite who has been specially trained by Konoha since childhood, in terms of barriers ninjutsu, the foundation is not as strong as that of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly who came in halfway. Although Flying Bamboo Dragonfly had a deep understanding of the barriers technique at the beginning, there were still many things that he didn't understand and he had to ask them for advice. But every day, they can discover the great progress of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, and the development of barriers technology is becoming more and more perfect, almost one step at a time. At the same time, I also admire the barriers ninjutsu and inverted golden bell barriers, created by Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. In their minds, as long as the barriers are enlarged and they encounter a ferocious monster like Nine Tails, as long as someone keeps it out, they can prevent it from being destroyed by the opponent. To deal with this situation, it is simply a magical tool. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly nodded to them and looked at the time. It was almost time. The work of the barriers class did not take up too much of Feijialanfli's time. There are only 2 days a week in barriers classes. Most of the time, I spend most of my time in the analysis class handling the work of the monitor. Going to and from get off work every day, going home for meals, and daily practice are just the journey of a Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. I learned the darkness movement as early as 2 weeks ago, and I have become proficient in it. Just as he thought, there was a little difference. The dark walking jutsu is not a genjutsu that only targets vision, but a large area genjutsu, and all ninjas within the range will be hit. In other words, as long as this technique is cast, all enemies' vision will enter darkness. And it is a continuous cast. Even if you disrupt the chakra, you will be hit by genjutsu again in the next moment. It can only be cracked by completely shutting out the caster's chakra or killing the caster. For example, Uchiha Susanoo can break this type of genjutsu by completely wrapping himself. It's little Ino's birthday today. What gift should I buy? Well, let's give her a Flying Bamboo Dragonfly figurine. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly smiled and thought of what she thought was the most handsome gift. He is indeed a genius. Ninja School. Teacher Irika is here, sit down quickly. Ah, I can't stand it anymore. I want to file a complaint against Mr. Irika for using ninjutsu on students. It's no use. I told my dad and he still supports Mr. Irika. Damn it, Irika-sensei actually developed this kind of ninjutsu, it's so despicable. I heard it was taught by his teacher. Just wait, I will leave you with the dream of being a Hokage. My dream is now to beat up Irika-sensei and his teacher. Me too. In the 2nd grade classroom, when I heard that this class was taught by Mr. Irika, the noisy little kid immediately returned to his seat obediently. They even shut their mouths quickly. He looked like he was studying very seriously. Even the arrogant young man from the Uchiha family and the nobleman of the Hyuga family felt as if they were eating shit at this moment. Clearly tortured. Ta. Irika walked in from the door with a book in his arms and a friendly smile on his face. Seeing that all the students were studying obediently and not making any noise at all, he nodded with satisfaction. As expected of me, even Ebisu-senpai couldn't make the students obey. I got it done as soon as I came. Irika felt that it was his destiny to teach in a school. Dreams, abilities, and character are all born for teaching. Suddenly, he saw an Uchiha boy raising his hand and thought there was something wrong with him. Uchiha-do, what's the problem with you? I have already told you that you have to go to the toilet after class time, and you can't do it on the spur of the moment in class. Uchiha, teacher, I just want to ask who your teacher is. A great teacher like you must be a great ninja, right? The other students pricked up their ears. They have been wondering this question for a long time, a week. Do you know how they get here in a week? Except for the top students, all the naughty ones were taught a lesson. In the entire class, there were only a few students who studied conscientiously and failed. But I have also heard that Irika's ninjutsu is extremely terrifying, and I have no intention of using it as a thorn. Okay, Uchiha Tong asked well, everyone should learn from him. This is one of the ways to obtain information. Don't ask for it directly, but ask sideways questions. Instead of going to the toilet and complimenting himself, Irika was very satisfied with Uchiha's question. It seems that under his encouragement, everyone is studying hard. Teacher, tell me who your teacher is. I swear, when I grow up, I will beat him up. Uchiha stopped pretending and asked directly. Irika smiled and said, have the courage, he is Jonin, are you sure you want to beat him? I will also be Jonin and Sharingan in the future. I will beat him to pieces. Uchiha Tong clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Growing up in Uchiha's house, he had never tasted that disgusting taste. In his heart, the person who developed this technique was only slightly less hateful than the person who insulted Uchiha. The Hyuga boy sitting next to him nodded, rarely standing on a united front with Uchiha. Not just them, but the whole class. His name is Feizuking, and he is currently the squad leader of the analysis class. If you are capable, remember to punch him more. Count it on me. Irika encouraged. That is something to be very happy about. Teacher Irika's words made the students confused. No, we are going to beat him up, why are you included? And? I'm going to beat you first, teacher, right? Of course, they were 7 years old and already had their own little JoJo, so they only asked Feizu Dragonfly's name. There wasn't much to say about beating up Irika. Very good, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, right? Let's see how I will beat him when I grow up. Grab his ninjutsu first, and then feed it back to him. Uchiha boy is full of fighting spirit. The Hyuga boy next to him also had ripples in his eyes. There are smart ones, and there are also clever ones. Some are ready to collect information about the flying bamboo dragonfly, and then take advantage of the child, pretend to be cute, approach him, and then give him a surprise punch. Without a punch, they feel uncomfortable. Okay, that's the end of the small talk, next is the math class. Listen carefully, otherwise not only will you not be able to beat my teacher, but you will also eat me with the 8 incenses of fire. But I am generous, you can choose your taste. As soon as Irika said this, all the students' faces darkened and they did not dare to say anything more. I felt even more anxious to beat him up. Episode 67. Special gift, accept the just punishment. The Yamanaka Haiichi family. Come on, open it and take a look. Uncle Dragonfly has prepared a super cool gift for you. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly sat across from little Ino and looked at the excited little Ino. At this moment, little Ino has a palm-sized exquisite gift box in front of her. It is the gift carefully prepared by Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Yamanaka Haiichi and Ino's mother looked at them with a smile. Little Ino rubbed his hands and looked at the strange grasshopper. He still remembered that the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly could change the flowers she liked at any time. I'm on. Putting her hands together and praying silently, with a hint of expectation, Ino opened the gift box little by little. What comes into view is the fluffy gift velvet. The little hands opened the velvet, and the gift finally revealed its true face. The true face was revealed, but little Ino's face fell. She was very speechless, because the figure inside was woven from bamboo and looked like a flying bamboo dragonfly. The hands of the figure are pressed on the head of a small Ino figure and connected together. A sense of déjà vu, like a big brother rubbing his head. Uncle Dragonfly, is this your super handsome gift? Little Ino was unhappy. She thought it was some beautiful flower or something, but she didn't expect it to be this kind of toy. Give Flying Bamboo Dragonfly a look of contempt. Yamanaka Haiichi and Ino's mother laughed beside them. They didn't expect Feizu Dragonfly's gift to be so original. Ino, don't talk like that. This is your birthday gift from your Uncle Dragonfly. Don't be rude. Ino's mother taught. Little Ino pouted, but, this gift is too abstract, I don't like it at all. Little Ino, I don't have such bad taste. Don't underestimate this figure, this is a ninja tool made by Uncle Dragonfly himself. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said proudly. Ninja tool? Yamanaka raised an eyebrow. When did you know how to make ninja tools? Why didn't I know? Little Ino looked at him doubtfully. Watch it, when you grow up a little, you will be able to refine chakra. Just enter chakra on it. Flying Bamboo and Dragonfly seal, injecting chakra into the figure. Suddenly, the figure comes to life. In the surprised eyes of little Ino and his family, the two figurines turned out to be just like real people, just a little small. And the villain can still laugh. Suddenly, the little figure Ino spoke, Uncle Dragonfly is the most handsome man in the world. Figure Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, little Ino is the cutest girl in the world. Repeated this several times. After the chakra is consumed, it turns back into a figure. Little Ino was speechless and died. Ino is obviously the cutest girl in the world, but Uncle Dragonfly is definitely not the most handsome man. Shameless monster. Yamanaka Haiichi also smiled awkwardly when he saw it. What a ninja. How about it, handsome, wait until you learn chakra refining. You can hear the most handsome uncle in the world talking to you every day. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked serious and seemed very satisfied with his gift. In response to her mother's look, little Ino put the figurine away. I'll just keep it, but I can't give you this kind of thing next time. Even so, it was a gift after all, and she was still prepared to keep it well. But she would never take it out to read. So shameless. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was very satisfied, and at the same time thought of Uchiha Sasuke. That kid must be in love with the little weasel figure now. Uchiha Tribe Land. Uchiha Sasuke looked at his brother, who flicked his forehead and went out to work again, with a look of surprise on his face. He took out the little weasel figure given to him by Fei Bamboo Dragonfly from his bag. Smelly brother, you always have to do tasks and don't accompany me. See if I don't tickle you. Sasuke turned over the figure's feet and kept tickling it with his little hands, as if it was a punishment for his brother for not accompanying him. As for the little weasel figure, he has now patinated it and has a smooth surface. Apparently played around a lot. Uncle Bad's craftsmanship is pretty good. When the time comes, I'll ask my mother for money to buy a few more. But where is the bad uncle's house? Sasuke thought of his bad uncle, and it would be great if he made himself a bunch of brothers' figures. Another few days passed. As time went by, the belly of the calamus grew bigger and bigger, and the Flying Bamboo and Dragonfly began to work and catch fish. I work with Shadow Clone most of the time, and I spend most of my time at home with Acris. As his body becomes stronger, his mental energy accumulates, and his chakra becomes stronger and stronger. Shadow Clone has no problem working. According to his perception, his chakra amount is only 1/4 lower than that of the third generation. This also allows him to develop methods, exercise, etc., and gain more efficiency. Become stronger faster. No wonder the 12 little Strongs in the original book became stronger significantly faster after they grew up. This is because as their bodies grow and their mental accumulation is sufficient, chakra will increase. The more chakra you can train, the longer it will last. Until the bottleneck. Certainly. Of course, things like catching fish must be reported to Hokage. He is the successor of the Will of Fire. The analysis class and barriers development class are also important positions. Of course, you can't use Shadow Clone to deal with it. If he was found out, his reputation would be bad, so he chose to tell Hiruzen Sarutobi openly. My wife's belly is getting bigger and bigger, so I use Shadow Clone to work with her. Do you have any objection? That's probably what it means, but it's still very euphemistic. Really? When Sarutobi Hiruzen heard this, he didn't even dare to say anything, and he approved it honestly. The real situation is that his eldest daughter-in-law lives at a similar age and understands it very well. I approved it immediately. Moreover, with the ability of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, even Shadow Clone can do a good job in the analysis class. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly left Shadow Clone to accompany Changfu, and he walked towards the number 98 training ground according to his past habits. If you don't practice for a day, you will be empty for 10 days. He still understands this truth. Therefore, he never slacked off in his own cultivation. Hiss. Hey, is he really coming? You won't make an intelligence error, right? In the training ground number 98, in the grass on the side, 3 little ghosts were squatting inside, and there was a dog next to them, looking at the training ground furtively. Impossible, my intelligence class is perfect, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. He comes here to practice every day, and I heard that he often plays music these days. Huh? He's a ninja, but he wants to be an artist? Whether he wants to be an artist or not, we have to punch him in the face. Yes, it's all his fault that Irika-sensei learned that ninjutsu. According to what we have agreed, we must pretend to be cute. This is child psychology that I studied in the library specifically in order to beat him. In this way, he will let down his guard against us and give him a good beating. Okay, I'll rush up to him for a hug, and then I'll take the opportunity to slap him in the face while you step on his feet. If Irika was here, he would know that this was the kid from the 2nd grade class of the ninja school, and there was also a 3rd grade leader. At this time, they discussed how to deal with the flying bamboo dragonfly. Episode 68. Earth Style, Earth Current Wall. Training Ground Number 98. As soon as the flying bamboo dragonfly approached, it sensed 3 little devils sneaking around in the grass nearby. Rolling his eyes, he didn't expose them and started training on his own. First, the daily Kai version of one-finger handstand, 200, 2000 push-ups, one-handed push-ups, action routines. The body and mind are the root causes of the amount of chakra. Naturally, flying bamboo dragonfly has never given up on the practice of physical skills. This action, for the flying bamboo dragonfly, is like sprinkling water. Although he doesn't have Kai's physical talent, Feiju dragonfly has brains. Use skills to make up for a lack of physical talent. It's amazing. Hana Inuzuka, the only girl among the 3, looked at flying bamboo dragonfly's training method and admired it from the bottom of her heart. Starry eyes. The Inuzuka family's fighting system is also a family that specializes in taijutsu. They have practiced taijutsu since they were young, so they can naturally see the difficulty of this kind of training. Even her father couldn't do it so easily. Gudong. Do you want to beat him? Can you find an opportunity? At this time, Inuzuka Hana swallowed, feeling that hope was a little slim. Is this Irika-sensei's teacher? He is so powerful, if we can punch him, he won't punch us, right? The little boy with a mid-parted suspender belt next to him had already retreated. Another boy with a fatter whisker was more courageous. What are you afraid of? We are just children. According to child psychology, as long as you don't pee on him intentionally, he will not be willing to beat the child. How reliable are you in child psychology? Asked the little boy with a middle-parted sling. Inuzuka Hana looked firmly. Don't be afraid. As long as we say it was Irika-sensei who called before he reacts, he will definitely turn his finger on Irika-sensei. She remembered what teacher Irika said, and the teacher also hoped that juniors like them could beat bamboo dragonflies away in the future. They must have conflicts, just change their attention, hee hee. Sister Hua is right. The 2 little boys nodded in agreement. This is a basic course in espionage and rebellion work, taught by Mr. Irika. Ah sneeze. Irika sorted out the student's homework and wiped his nose. What's going on? The weather has just turned cold, are you catching a cold? Then he shook his head and looked at the homework in his hands. He was very satisfied. With the support of his new teacher Genjutsu, he is even more powerful in school. Huh? These brats are here to beat me up? Do I know them? Also, this guy Irika didn't do something in school and turned the blame on me, right? Flying bamboo dragonfly had 3 questions in her mind. I thought about it, but the movement of my hand did not stop. The self-created flying bamboo fluid technique was used to hit the wooden stake in front of him. Bang bang. It combines various taijutsu from Iwagakure, Reikage, and Konoha, and creates its own taijutsu that is more suitable for one's own physique and fighting style. It's not that it's better than other physical skills, but it's more suitable for you. Suddenly, the flying bamboo dragonfly stopped and looked in one direction. The 3 little devils finally came out. Led by a girl with an inverted triangle pattern on her face, 2 little boys followed closely behind. Hey, uncle, are you a ninja? When Inuzuka Hana saw flying bamboo dragonfly looking over, her eyes widened, looking very adoring. This made the 2 younger brothers behind him very uncomfortable. The eldest sister is indeed a born ninja, and her character can actually act like this. Flying bamboo dragonfly looked at the patterns on her face. She is a little brat from the Inuzuka family. Yeah, don't you have to go to class? He wanted to see what these kids were going to do and wanted to beat him. Wow, that's amazing. Brother, you are awesome. Is your dream Hokage too? We have a break today, and we came here to practice ninjutsu. Brother, can you teach us? The 3 children looked at each other with admiration in their eyes. Can't stand it. Although I know these guys are just pretending, the little ones are really cute. Much cuter than Itachi. At about the same age, these children are still preoccupied, but they still have a childlike innocence. He felt young again. Flying bamboo dragonfly shook his head. No, I don't want to be a Hokage. I want to give up the position of Hokage's successor to you. You are the future Hokage. Come, let me teach you what you learned in school. I'm a genius at this. When Inuzuka Hana and the others heard the identity of Hokage's successor, their eyes lit up for a moment, and they seemed to feel good. They looked at each other and firmed up their plan. Brother, I also want to be a powerful ninja. You can hug me. Let me feel the greatness of a genin? Inuzuka asked with bright eyes. Flying bamboo dragonfly nodded. No problem, but do you want to introduce yourselves? Inuzuka flower. Fongyamoji Kuin. Izuno Kai Kai. The three little ones couldn't wait any longer. Inuzuka Hana even opened her arms to hug her. All right. With such a brief introduction, I only know one Inuzuka Hana, Kiba's sister. But if he remembered correctly, this guy's personality seemed to be similar to his teeth, so he was probably pretending. But he picked her up anyway. To be honest, Inuzuka Hana, who is the same age as Itachi, doesn't know how she can behave like someone hugging her. Izuno Kai Kai and Fuma Jikuen looked at each other, and each of them kicked the flying bamboo dragonfly. Watch me beat you up. Inuzuka Hana, who was picked up, couldn't wait any longer. He immediately changed his face and roared, punching Feiju Dragonfly in the face. Flying bamboo dragonfly let go of her hand, and Inuzuka Hana and her two younger brothers quickly fled towards the route they had just come from. Hey, let me give you a taste of the success of Genin's tactics. Now it's time for you to let me experience what it's like to be a teacher. After Feiju Dragonfly pretended to be in pain for a while, a smile appeared on her lips. The tactics of these little guys are very good. He admires people who can use their brains, but the conspiracy is too blatant. Mao Mao Shininshin. Earth style, Earth Flow City Wall. Yeah, the tactic was successful. We beat Irika Sensei's teacher. As expected of a eldest sister, she can actually pretend to be pretty. What? Bastard, do you want to be beaten? Ah, I'm sorry, eldest sister, you are always watery. The three of them used all their energy to feed themselves. They knew they couldn't defeat the flying bamboo dragonfly and wanted to escape. Sudden. They felt something was wrong. There was a cliff in front of them. Whoosh. The three of them stopped in front of the cliff. Looking at the ground dozens of meters high, my eyes felt dizzy. The two boys even fell to the ground. What's going on? We got Genjutsu? Inuzuka Hana realized something was wrong and looked at the forest in the distance and the Konoha residential area further away. Looking back again, there are cliffs on all sides. They stood on top of a huge square. It's Earth style, big Earth style. Episode 69. Small family. Woof woof. Just when they were panicking, a dog barked. The flying bamboo dragonfly carried a gray ninja dog, stood on the huge flying eagle, and flew up. There was still a smile on his face. Haimaru. Inuzuka Hana looked at it worriedly. Woof woof. Haimaru looked at the ground, feeling that it was better not to struggle. It would be bad if it falls. Give me the gray pill, big brother. Inuzuka Hana was worried about what the flying bamboo dragonfly would do to Haimaru, especially the smiling mouth. So she speaks in a coquettish way. Her two little brothers were already frightened. Don't kill us. Teacher Irika asked us to beat you. The two of them burst into tears, their previous courage completely gone, but they seemed not to have forgotten their plan. Especially Feiju Dragonfly has no face, but still has such a weird smile at the corner of its mouth. Why should I kill you? You are the successors of Hokage. But, you hit me, I will punish you. Flying bamboo dragonfly smiled, and then threw Haimaru to Inuzuka Hana. He was already sure that Irika must have said something to him at school. Woof woof. Inuzuka Hana took Haimaru and looked at flying bamboo dragonfly. What do you want to do? Didn't you just say that you wanted to ask me for ninja knowledge? I want to train you. Flying bamboo dragonfly said. Train us? Yes, you are from the Inuzuka clan, the two of them are from the Fuma clan, and the Izuno clan, right? According to intelligence, the Fuma clan is gradually declining, and the Izuno clan does not even have a jonin. Since you asked me for advice and are so destined, I'm going to give you a basic training to improve your ability to become a jonin. Flying bamboo dragonfly looked at Inuzuka Hana and the two boys. As a high-ranking official in Konoha, he still knew this information. There are many small families in Konoha, such as the Fuma clan who created the Fuma Shuriken, and the Izuno clan who possesses secret techniques. Many of their families have never given birth to jonin. Even becoming a chunin is difficult. This is because the resources are not as good as those of a big family like Hyuga, nor are they as good as the base of civilian ninjas, resulting in a situation where small families don't even have a few chunin. It also made Fishikingfi know why the small family in the original novel appeared so rarely. So since I'm bored, I can train my juniors during the training period. And the ninjutsu from other families are also very interesting. Juniors like this should be the focus of training in their family. There are really too few people. But the success rate, I can only say that even if you look at it, you will shake your head. Hearing Fishikingfang talking about his family, Fengma Jikuan and Izuno Kaikai recovered from their panic. They were a little disappointed to hear that there was no jonin in their family. In fact, they are also under pressure. Every generation of their family will pin their hopes on the next generation. In this generation, they can handle the pressure and start to move up. They have pretty good talents in certain areas, such as the analysis theory class just now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be confident enough to beat up a flying bamboo dragonfly. We can definitely become chunin. The two said firmly. Hey, I told you so, aren't you supposed to become jonin? Flying bamboo dragonfly was speechless. This feels a bit inferior. Where was that confidence that made me want to beat him up just now? The two of them bowed their heads. It is true that generations of the family have failed to give them confidence. Inuzuka Hana frowned. She did not expect that her two younger brothers would be so unsure of themselves. Hey, don't let him look down upon you. We beat him just now. Be more confident, we can definitely become jonin, or even Hokage. She cheered her two younger brothers loudly. This made the two younger brothers hang their heads even lower. Their talents are actually quite good among the family, but they are not very good, and they know this. You can feel it from the looks on your family's faces. Just because there are too few family members, the pressure has to fall on them. Chunin is already their target. Okay, no matter what your goal is, as someone who punched me and stepped on me, you are already worthy of pride, surpassing the genius ninja Kakashi. Even surpassing the genius ninja Uchiha Itachi. Also surpassed Sannin's disciple, Mitarashi Anko. Flying bamboo dragonfly smiled. Eh? Upon hearing this, the three of them looked up at him with confusion on their faces. The first two of them are well known, and Uchiha Itachi is a genius who entered the school at the same time as the eldest sister, and has been graduating for a while. Sannin and the others have also heard of the latter one. He is his disciple and must be very talented. How could they possibly surpass such genius? Well, you are right. Kakashi is my classmate and he has never laid a finger on me yet. Flying bamboo dragonfly raised its finger. Uchiha Itachi was my teammate a few days ago. During the sparring session, I beat him to the point where he jumped without even touching a finger of mine. So is Anko. Then he praised, and you, using your excellent ninja qualities, judged my psychology and successfully hit me. You are amazing, don't underestimate yourselves, but work hard. Kaikai and Jikuan's eyes are bright, is that so? Are they beyond that kind of genius? Only Inuzuka was more thoughtful and analyzed his thoughts. She wanted to say, is this right? But thinking of the condition of her two younger brothers, she still choked. Okay, as a punishment for you, your task today is to get down from the wall of this Earthflow city. Flying bamboo dragonfly pointed at their feet. The three people and the dog looked down again, feeling like they were about to jump down. But reason suppressed this impulse. This will kill you? Inuzuka Hana said. Woof woof. Haimaru also shouted excitedly. The two little ones kept nodding. Flying bamboo dragonfly's hands are in the seal, and a small but tall pillar protrudes from the center of the Earthflow city wall. Okay, let's start with something simple. Every 5 minutes, if I decide someone is being lazy, try my Genjutsu. I think that's why you want to beat me up. Feiju Dragonfly took out a harmonica and said with a smile. He already roughly knew why the three little ones came to him. Isn't this what he wanted? Unexpectedly, before you could enjoy it, his sister enjoyed it first. I feel comfortable. Then he told them about the chakra control training techniques for tree climbing, and he demonstrated it several times, asking them to climb up little by little along the pillar erected in the center. Once you become proficient, you can descend from the Earthflow wall by yourself. Having led a team before, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly has experience and knows how to speak, making it easier for ninjas at different stages to listen. Therefore, the description of techniques is a little different from when teaching Irika and others. More suitable for these unnecessary children. Gudong. The three of them looked at the bandaged face and the harmonica in his hand, and swallowed. I remembered Irika-sensei's move. This was Irika-sensei's teacher, so he must be better than him. Thinking of this, the three of them were scared. At the same time, I thought to myself, if I had known better, I wouldn't have beaten him. Looking at the tall pillars, the three of them had no choice but to start practicing according to what Feiju Dragonfly taught. Because Feiju Dragonfly compared several geniuses in front of them, the two boys became much more confident. There is no feeling of despondency, and the motivation seems to be sufficient. Coupled with the threat of flying bamboo dragonflies. Don't dare not do it. From time to time, he fell from the pillar. Flying bamboo dragonfly began to practice music, and at the same time thought about how to integrate the art of darkness into its own combat system. Episode 70. Sasuke. The art of darkness is considered a separate system in Genjutsu. Unlike the visual Genjutsu, chakra relies on vision to affect the enemy. It is also unlike the auditory type, which relies on sound to conduct chakra. This is a Genjutsu that conducts chakra in the air over a large area. It is similar to the procedure of releasing ninjutsu, but it is the effect of Genjutsu. Therefore, it is still a bit difficult for flying bamboo dragonfly to integrate darkness into its own Genjutsu system. At least it can't be done in a day or two. Flying bamboo dragonfly did not spend all his energy here. He mainly spent a little time every day to accumulate experience until he had accumulated enough. Now his main research is still on ordinary Genjutsu, such as visual, sound, and a series of studies on the art of reading minds. Similar to Fire Haka, he studies the specific application of sound Genjutsu, relying on sound to be transmitted to chakra to affect the enemy's five senses. It hurts. Izuno Kaikai squatted down and fell to the ground, crying in pain. Looking at the pillar in front of me, I wanted to use the family secret technique to destroy it for him. But looking at Fei Bamboo Dragonfly, who was practicing music on the side, he still followed his heart. The same goes for Feng Emojikuan. This kind of delicate manipulation of chakra is really difficult. At this moment, his middle-parted hair and overalls were stained with sweat. Tired. Hey, try harder, I found some feeling. Inuzuka Hana lifted her feet off the ground and walked slowly on the pillar at 90 degrees. As soon as he finished speaking, the person fell down again. Her face cheered up, it felt really great. It's not difficult at all. Kaikai looked at her with a fat face. Sister, how did you do it? Feng Emojikuan also looked at her. They don't feel anything at all. Sometimes people fall off before taking even 2 steps. Inuzuka Hana encouraged, this way, that way, then you will find the feeling. Gong gong. Dong dong dong. At this moment, a familiar yet different music sounded in my ears. There was a bit of pungency in the throats of the 3 people, and then it went straight to the sky. The fatigue just now disappeared in an instant, and people became energetic. Work hard. When it is completed, you will be free. Otherwise, he. Flying bamboo dragonfly raised the harmonica in his hand, indicating to them not to think too much and practice hard. Yes. They never want to eat this ninjutsu again, it's so scary. The feeling of being washed away just that day made them think that they were going to heaven to meet Tainai. Not daring to slack off, the 3 of them continued practicing. Flying bamboo dragonfly saw all their actions. A little frown. Fortunately, Inuzuka Hana has good talent in chakra control. But the other 2? The talent is a bit poor. It seems that in a short period of time, don't expect these 2 little brats to complete this foundation. Then he relaxed his brow again. Don't worry, he is just training the younger ones by the way, not training them into Sage of 6 Paths. Brother, is that bad uncle really here? Sasuke held Itachi's hand and followed him slowly, looking at the empty forest and road around him. Hearing this, Itachi smiled and said, didn't you say he is a bad uncle? Why are you still looking for him? But the brother he made up is really good looking. Sasuke stretched out his right hand, holding a small Itachi figure. The sunlight shines on the figure, giving off reflections. There is no shortage of dishes. Uchiha Itachi looked at the figure and smiled, then turned his head, and the smile on his face turned calm again. The bags under my eyes got bigger. Obviously, he has experienced a lot in the past 2 months. Make him more mature. Itachi Kaido, the bad uncle you call him, basically practices at this training ground every day, and he will definitely be here at this time. Brother, why can the bad uncle train every day, but you have to go out on missions every day? Sasuke asked confusedly. He didn't understand that every time he wanted to play with his brother, Sasuke was willing to follow him and watch him train. But most of the time, I go out on missions. There is not much time to play with him at all. Itachi smiled, Because my brother is genin, he needs to improve his strength and experience, so he will do it more frequently. When your brother becomes jonin, he will have more time to spend with you. Sasuke seemed to understand. Is it just like dad? Almost. Ta. Hey, brother, what is that? Sasuke raised his head, shadows enveloped them, and a tall stone wall blocked their view. Itachi's eyesight was better, and he could see flying bamboos and dragonflies, sitting on the edge of the wall, playing some music. Hey, this should be the Earth-style ninjutsu released by your bad uncle. It should be training. Itachi explained to Sasuke. Huh? Why did they come here? Flying bamboo dragonfly senses Uchiha Itachi and Sasuke entering his range of perception. Did he also come to training ground 98 for training? Probably not, Uchiha has his own training ground. It's not like you're here to find him. After a while, Itachi brought Sasuke to the wall of Doryu Castle. Senior Dragonfly. Hey, Itachi, what do you want from me? Also, why don't you call me brother? The flying bamboo dragonfly jumped down from a height of dozens of meters and landed lightly in front of them without causing any big noise. It was like a feather falling to the ground. Uchiha Sasuke hid behind Itachi and watched the movements of the flying bamboo dragonfly and felt so awesome. He actually jumped from such a height. Uchiha Itachi heard this with embarrassment on his face. I don't know why, I haven't seen him for a while, and it feels a little wrong to call me brother. Senior, don't make fun of me, it's my brother who is looking for you. Itachi spoke. Hearing this, flying bamboo dragonfly raised the corner of his mouth and saw the figure in Sasuke's hand. Oh, I thought you were here to discuss with me. I've recently developed some new genjutsu, and I'd like to try it out with you, the owner of Sharingan. He pretended to be sorry. Itachi choked. Although after this period of practice, his progress was visible to the naked eye, Genjutsu still didn't want to face the flying bamboo dragonfly. He is yet to find a way to crack the flying bamboo dragonfly Genjutsu. In other words, chakra is not enough and many means are not enough to crack it. Bad uncle, I want to buy a few brothers like this. Sasuke raised the little weasel figure in his hand and said in a sweet voice. Okay, I'll satisfy you, but let uncle hug you first. Feiju Dragonfly didn't expect that the two brothers came to him just for this, and the bad taste came up again. Regardless of whether he agreed or not, he squatted down and picked up Sasuke, who was almost 4 years old. Of course Sasuke resisted and wanted to resist. Who was flying bamboo dragonfly at that time, suppressing him with one hand. Last time I just lifted him up, this time I gave him a hug. Don't move, I'll knit some little weasels for you. After flying bamboo dragonfly finished speaking, he took out bamboo filaments one by one from his ninja tool bag. Within a few seconds, several little weasel figurines with different shapes appeared. All are in Q version, both standing and sitting. The things he holds in his hands are also different, including shurikens, kunai, and so on. Sasuke's eyes grew brighter as he watched.